2024. Members, in terms of the agenda, we have agenda items for the open session that are coming from the regulation of the petroleum pipelines industry and as well as the pipe gas regulation. We will start with the items under the petroleum pipeline regulation, and I will be reading each item into the record before the EM introduces the subject. The first item is on an application by Engine Petroleum Ltd for a revocation of a license issued for the operation of a petroleum storage facility located at the Uppington Airport in the Northern Cape. That is our first item for the open session. Ms. Mtwa, may I request that you introduce the item for us? Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning, members and colleagues. Thank you, Chairperson. The item will be introduced by Ms. Mabike. If she can come quickly and just summarize key issues for the members. Thank you.
Thank you, EM. Good morning, members and colleagues. Engine Petroleum has applied for the revocation of a license issued to it for the operation of a storage facility located at Uppington Airport in the Northern Cape Province. This revocation application was lodged in terms of Section 24(1)(c) of the Petroleum Pipelines Act, which states that the authority may revoke a license on application of a licensee if another person is willing and able to assume the rights and obligations of the licensee concerned in accordance with the requirements and objectives of this Act, and a new license is issued to such a person. In this case, the party willing and able to assume the rights of this facility is the Airports Company of South Africa SOC Limited, ACSA. Subsequent to Engine's submission of this revocation application, ACSA also submitted its application for a license to operate the storage facility at Uppington Airport. This new license application was processed in parallel with this revocation by Engine and is the next item on today's agenda. Also noteworthy is the fact that ACSA is now the new owner of this airport facility asset, as a sale of assets agreement between itself and Engine was concluded in June of 2023. Furthermore, Engine also submitted an interim operator agreement between itself and ACSA to provide surety that the facility will remain fully operational until such time that both Engine's revocation and ACSA's operation license application are considered and granted by the energy regulator. Further details are provided in paragraphs 14 to 27 of the decision and reasons for decision document attached here to as Annexure 1. It is therefore recommended on page 8 of 21 that the REC considers and approves the revocation of a license issued to Engine for the operation of a storage facility located at Uppington Airport in the Northern Cape Province, and approve the decision and reasons for decision document attached here to as Annexure 1. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Mabike. Members, any questions, issues of clarity, or points of enhancements on the submission?
None from my side.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I also have none, other than just a minor point of clarity. If I read the submission correctly, that the land upon which the facility was built belonged to ACSA, rather, and then Engine had listed from ACSA. Am I correct in that interpretation, Ms. Mabike?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. With no further questions or issues of clarity on the submission, can I get an indication from members that they do support the recommendations, which are on paragraph 15, page 11, the green stamped page 11. And the recommendation, just to read them into the record, for the REC to consider and approve the revocation of a license issued to Engine for the operation of a storage facility located at Uppington Airport, Northern Cape, and also to approve the decision and reasons for decision attached here as Annexure 1, which starts from page 9 to page 21. By show of hand, members, thanks, Mr. Mkize. I also support Ms. Hatting. Just assist me. If
Ms. Mercedes' hand is up now.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Mabike and Ms. Ntwa. The submission is approved. We then move on to the next submission, and for the records, the title of our submission is the Airports Company South Africa SOC Limited's application for a license to operate its petroleum storage facility located within the Upington International Airport, Northern Cape province. And the license number is given there as F3/349 of 2023. Over to you, Ms. Mtwa.
Thank you, Chairperson. As indicated by Ms. Mabike, this is a parallel submission which seems to take over the operation from Engine. Mr. Riba is on sick leave, and Mr. Untit will assist with the key points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Untit.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members. Yes, as alluded already, the sales transaction then resulted in the need, due to the ownership change of this application by AXA. The rationale for the application is highlighted in the cover submission in paragraph 7. So basically, this is also part of the airports company more strategic look at all its airport facilities. And when this contract ended, they started the process to now roll out and also then to own and then appoint an operator to do this at several facilities. But this is the first one. The facility details are provided there. I think what is important in terms of two things is ownership. They have provided the details and the proof to be able, as the Act require, that the owner must hold the license and prove that. Secondly, typically when there's a revocation and a new owner taking over, a new capacity, is it added or lost? In this case, there's no negative impact on the market foreseen because it's continuous operation. In fact, while these two applications were processed, the engine still submitted their monthly report, so there was no compliance issues. And now with this, if the regulator consider this, then it will continue. The benefits also is that since there will now be an independent operator, it will also help with third-party access and where these facilities are of such a strategic nature. Members, I think the rest is then in the submission there, unless there's specific questions, and therefore the recommendation from in terms of how it's outlined in paragraph 15, which in fact I see there's a typo there. The recommendations should actually be 16. 16.2, that the Regulator Executive Committee consider and improve access application to operate this storage facility, which was just revoked from the previous owner in terms of the previous decision, comprising of 3 above ground tanks with the capacities listed and some other F-gas tanks listed as stipulated. Also approved the decision and reasons for decision document, which is attached as the Annexure 1, and then also the license conditions that was attached as Annexure 1A of the decision and reasons for decision. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Untit. Members, are there any questions, issues of clarity, or points of enhancement in relation to this particular submission? If there is none, I think Mr. Untit has already read the recommendations into the record, and to just save time, I will not repeat them. However, I think the numbering, Mr. Untit, it's the sub-paragraph, I think starting from 14 and 15, that just needs to be corrected. And I think recommendation is para 15, and we should just correct this sub-paragraph there, and also on 14. Ms. Maseti, I saw your hand. You may come in, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I just want to get clarification, perhaps on the. I think Mr. Martin did not clarify the part on the legal basis for subletting the operation of the facility, of the storage facility, especially if you read the Act and the ownership of the facility. If we can just be clarified on that issue, that you obviously you license the owner of the facility, and then the operation now to the subletting of the operation function to somebody else. And in this case, it appears that also that subletting of the operating license is on a temporary basis. And then in future, it seems, according to paragraph 19, that they are looking at appointing, another operator, or a company, or someone that will be responsible for operating the facility. Can we be clarified there if this is in accordance with the provisions of the Act, just so that at least we close that gap? And also, in such cases, there will probably be additional cost because you are appointing a different person, and therefore that additional cost will actually go to it's an additional cost on the tariffs that must be paid. So that is the second thing here that we also needed to just keep in mind as we take the decision. I wanted to ask this question also in the previous submission, but it is still appropriate that I raise it here. And then the third thing is the issue of the compliance with the regulation that deals with whether they are up to date with the decommissioning costs, as well as the licenses being the duties or activities of the license are taken over by a different owner. Those are the three issues that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maseti. Mr. Untit, do you want to respond to the questions?
Yes, Chair. If starting at the back, in terms of the compliance with the decommissioning cost, so the previous owner did report on that in terms of each license compliance with, in terms of setting aside funds. I think I may just need assistance from our tariff colleagues exactly on that, but that we can then also maybe enhance the document to be clear. But this was discussed as part of the pre-licensing engagement with the at the time of the application, and they did say they will also look at that as part of their tariff application. Apologies, I was silent about that, but in parallel or as part of this submission, because it's a new operator, they also lodged a tariff application, and this considerations will then form part of that. So I'm not sure if the tariff colleagues can maybe assist me there while I'll deal with the other matters, but we'll note it, and then also the enhancement of the document. In terms of the additional cost and the operatorship, or maybe let me start with the first question to be more logical. The Petroleum Pipelines Act unlike the other sets of legislation that NASRA ministered, is not clear or not explicit on operatorship versus ownership. In terms of checking the financial, administrative, and technical abilities, then to do that, as part of that consideration, AXA did indicate that as the airports company, they do have the ability or some of the overall abilities to that, but that the actual operations then done by a third party on their behalf. And that we should be enhancing then the document to make that clear as part of this decision. But the interim arrangement was just because the license the contract expired in March, and therefore to ensure continuity of supply at the airport, they then the parties agreed to this interimship while they follow the due process in terms of the legislation that they also have to do, is to put out a tender process. That update, as far as I know, that process were concluded, but maybe we should then also, we should enhance the document to make it clear if that was now concluded and the new operator is there. But in terms of the volume reports up to last month when it was due, that was being submitted by the party that was also applying. In terms of the cost and the subletting, so yeah, maybe the legal colleagues can also assist me, but there is precedent in terms of this, as long as we, based on the others, we check the technical abilities of the operator too, to ensure that he can do. So the standards that will be applied is the industry standards, which is internationally the JIC standard, which all aviation companies need to comply with. So the operators confirmed they will be doing that. There's no additional cost foreseen. Maybe I wasn't certain about a question. In terms of a new party coming in, a new operator coming in, and AXA, except submitting the reports that they receive from the operator, we are not aware of any additional cost that will come into the tariff. But I think, as I mentioned, maybe I should have be upfront, state that the tariff application were lodged and is also being processed where that considerations will be covered. I'm not sure if PPT colleagues can maybe assist me on that regard, because I don't have the facts to make pronounce on that.
Thanks, Mr. Unteta. I saw Ms. Boko's hand, which was up. Ms. Boko, you may. Oh, Mr. Mkiza first. Ms. Boko, I noted your hand. You'll come after Mr. Mkiza. Mr. Mkiza.
Thanks. I think I would just request management to just be straight to the point in responding in terms of being conscious, because if we go in this rate, the agenda is long and we need to be economic with our time. And from my understanding is that there is no subletting, there's leasing, in the sense that we had AXA as the owner and continues to be the owner, but the operator in all these airports, it's either a consortium of all companies or an all company, like it has happened in George, in Uppington, as well as King Hintsa. I think that is how things have been operated, with the operator not the same as the owner per se. It's just a question of transparency here to say this is the actual operator that we have. Sometimes we've got a consortium operating with a lead operator, like we've seen even in OR Tambo with BP and them changing over time. So that is the case here, and that is my understanding. You have to correct me, Mr. Unti, if my understanding is wrong. And I think we must just be straight and upfront about what has been happening and what is happening now. Thank you.
Chair, if I may, Mr. Nkisi's interpretation is correct. So maybe the terminology used in terms of subletting versus leasing, but Mr. Nkisi is correct.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Masetti, I believe your issues have been answered. Are you happy with that, or do you have any follow-up question?
In terms of my issue here, I understand, because remember, if you have, well, let me start by saying the decision that is required from the regulator today is the decision of granting an operating license to AXA. So that is the decision.
Okay.
And now the AXA says we will appoint somebody else to do the operation for us. So it means that the person you are entrusting with the operating license, which is your regulator function, is not the one that is going to do that function on a day-to-day basis. This person says that somebody else will do it. We know that this happens as well in other sectors. Now, what that does then, the cost, because that person who's going to do this function for you will have to pay for operating the facility, because you're not doing it yourself. You appoint somebody, so you must pay that person, and therefore that cost of the operating the storage facility will go into the tariff. So that's number one. That one, it's clear. If you do the transparency issues and you check that, that will be the cost. That's number one. The second one is this, that I wanted to check. When we then analyzed the requirements, which are 3 requirements, the technical abilities, to demonstrate technical abilities, to demonstrate administrative abilities and financial abilities. On the technical abilities, how did we pass that hurdle in demonstrating AXA's technical abilities for operating the storage facility? Because AXA is giving it to somebody else, and it also indicates in paragraph 19 that this one is temporary. They may even look at getting somebody else again in the future. So that is the issue here. So how did we reconcile that aspect when we say we are happy you can operate this facility, we're giving it to you, yet they now give it to somebody else? So we do need to close that gap and reconcile it appropriately in terms of demonstrating the technical abilities and even administrative and financial abilities, because it will have additional cost or attract additional cost. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Masetti. I think we need to move to closure on this particular submission. Ms. Boko, may you come in relation to the point raised by Ms. Masetti to say that AXA is the applicant in the submission before us. However, they have indicated that they'll be appointing another service provider to operate that, and doing that may have an impact on the pricing issue. May you come in?
Oh, thank you, Chairperson. Yes, I do agree with Ms. Masetti that there is an added cost, given that we have someone else operating or set to operate the facility. And just to confirm that AXA has already lodged its application, and the operator costs are included in the OPEX. But then the way we look at it is that even if the facility would have been operated by AXA with no external operator, for lack of a better terminology, those costs would have formed part of AXA's own operation costs, either in the form of the labor costs, or they would in any way just come to the determination of tariffs. I think what we can do for members is to maybe show the impact when we've processed the application or table it for decision, show the impact of having AXA operating as opposed to having an external party operating the facility. But then, in my view, I think the impact would be fairly minimal. And also, Chairperson, I was also supposed to come in to clarify the issue of the financial instrument for land rehabilitation. The engine as the current owner does not yet have an approved financial instrument. So there were no funds recouped through tariffs for land rehabilitation purposes, in which case we would have monitored the transfer of funds to the new or the prospective party. And as highlighted by Martin earlier, we have highlighted the liability to the prospective licensee, which is AXA in this case. And just to also give members an update that both parties are in the process of finalizing approval of their preferred instruments for land rehabilitation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Boko. Mr. Mkhize?
Again, I would say that the management, you are not doing us a favor by being, going be all over the show. The thing is here, you've got an outsource model which has been applicable to all these airports. AXA owns, in the main, managing the infrastructure and the operations. But in terms of operating of the depots, they've adopted an outsource model by saying that they can have someone else later on. It just goes on to say they will have to they will continuously look at the efficiencies, because if you've got an outsource model, which is something that was very much I would say pursued in the 1980s and 1990s to the early 2000s, to say you get someone else who can be able to do the job much better than yourself and more efficiently than yourself. So it's to say that these all companies can do a better job in this regard, being outsourced, in the same vein like you've got IT in a company, and instead of yourself having a permanent employee for IT, you've got a consultant who does the IT for yourself. So it's in the same context here. And I think that if you can just put a paragraph or so just to indicate that, so it is clear and is understood in this case, which will then have to be followed up in terms of the tariff application, to look at that tariff application as not being exorbitant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mkhize. Ms. Mseti, I believe you are answered. And I think maybe one of the things that the team should take, particularly the tariff team, is that when they do the analysis of the tariff application, they need to really highlight that issue of the issue of the impact of outsourcing in the submissions. But we can look at whether is it reasonable or acceptable or not. Members, based on that, I think I'll have to request that we go to the recommendation. Mr. Mtiti had read them, but I will repeat them because we have had a lengthy discussion after that. The recommendation are on paragraph 15 of page 11, and we'll correct the numbering there. And the recommendation are that AXA be the REC considers and approves the application for a license to operate for AXA to operate its storage facility located in Appleton International Airport, which consists of 3 vertical above ground storage tanks, which each with design capacity of 1,020 cubic meters for storage of Jet 1. 3 horizontal above ground storage tanks, each with design of 83 cubic meters for storage of gas, and 2 horizontal above ground storage tank, each with design capacity of 23 cubic meters for storage of gas. and to approve the decision and reasons for decisions that are attached as Annexure 1, and as well as the draft license conditions that are attached as Annexure 1A. With that, members, can I get an indication that you support the recommendation? I do support the recommendation. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Thank you, Ms. Mafeti. Mr. Untit, the submission is approved, but let's also consider the enhancements of it with the points that members have made. We'll then move on to item 7. Item 7 is Oxy Energy's cost allocation manual, CAM, submitted in compliance with the requirements of the regulatory reporting manual, which is RRMs for short. Ms. Mutwa and Mr. Sintumule, if you can lead the meeting on this item. Ms. Mutwa, first.
Mr. Sintumule, please go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, members, management and colleagues. Here we'll be presenting the cost allocation manual. As we all are aware that CAM is a precursor to submission of RFRs, which serve as an input for calculation of the clawback, which is a component of the calculation of a tariff, as highlighted in tariff methodology. And also to members, I want to apologize in terms of the dates of the submission of this CAM, as there were technical errors, as it's presented on this date. So we apologize on that. So the purpose of this submission is to request the Regulatory Executive Committee to approve the ORIX CAM submitted in compliance with the requirements of the RRMs. The CAM submitted by ORIX Energies was evaluated by the regulatory reporting specialist. The CAM was deemed to have met the criteria as set out by the cost allocation manual evaluation metrics. We'll assume that the submission is read. Then table 1 below will summarize the salient features of the ORIX Energy CAM. We started with the cost allocation principle. The cost allocation principle are consistent with the regulatory requirements as gazetted in the RRMs Volume 1. This has been discussed on page 9 of the CAM. The related party affiliates, according to ORIX Energies, there are no related party affiliates transaction. ORIX Energy is committed to adhere to the principle of RRMs in this case. Fractionalization of the cost and the categorization of the cost. The fractionalization and categorization of the cost were identified and are discussed in more detail in section 4.1. As a result, in terms of the recommendation, it is recommended that the Regulatory Executive Committee approve the ORIX Energy CAM submitted in compliance with the regulatory reporting manuals. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Sintimule. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements? Mr. Mkhize?
Thanks, Chairperson. As a signatory to this submission, my only concern is that there is no indication of confidential issues. If you can just make sure that you indicate as such, so that you don't fall into error of stating certain things in the open meeting that we're not supposed to, in terms of the confidentiality requirements. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's noted. Is there any, Mr. Sintimule, that is confidential? If not, because I didn't see anything highlighted in yellow in the submission to indicate that. On that note, then, members, can I then request that we go to recommendations, seeing that there are no hands for questions or issues of clarity or points of enhancements? The recommendations are on paragraph 14. I think the submission is not really numbered. I can't state the page. And the recommendations are that the REC is requested to approve the, pardon, sorry, I went into a wrong submission. I apologize, members. To approve the cost allocation manual submitted by Oxy Energies in compliance with the requirements of the RRM. By show of hand, members, can I get an indication that you support that, and also to request the team to note the cautionary measure that Mr. Mkiza has raised. Members, by show of hand, I support the submission. Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. Lillian, assist me as Ms. Masiti's hand is up. Is Masiti?
It's just
Thank you,
coming down. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Masiti. The submission has been approved. We then move on to the next submission. Ms. Mtoa, may I and team, may I request that we be mindful of the time in terms of presentation. Let's just stick to the rules, which is 2 minutes to present, and members will have 3 minutes to ask questions or issues of clarity or points of enhancements. And based on that, Ms. Mtoa, or will it be taken straight by Ms. Sebake? Please just let us know. Thanks. Over to you.
Thanks, Chair. Mr. Baga is currently on leave. Mr. Andy Rekaba will be assisting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I go ahead, Sio?
Yes, you may proceed.
Good morning, members. This report is a first of two. This particularly pertains to Transnet's audited RFRs for its Talton Petroleum Storage Facility. And this is an RFR report for the period between 1st of April 2022 and the 31st of March 2023. In terms of the report, Transnet did submit the RFRs a bit late, noting the delays that are reported in the report, paragraph 5.1, page 3 of the report. In terms of the scope, we opted to, we assigned Transnet's auditors, which is SNG Grant Thornton, to perform agreed upon procedures for this period. And the auditors did perform all procedures that were agreed upon in the report. And they did submit a report which showed that the Talton facility was fully present, meaning that all procedures that were agreed upon had been performed, and they found to not have any issues as well. So in terms of comparison of the actual and estimated costs used in the tariff calculations, they did perform audits and to verify the clawback adjustments that were pertained in the 2024-25 tariff application, and which the results of were considered in the report that was before PPS on the 6th of December 2023. In terms of financial analysis, Transnet's financial performance for the Talton facility reflects that it was not particularly profitable, as they were not able to sustain themselves for the 2022-23 financial year. And this was the financial decline was due to the huge decline in volumes amidst the dispute on the customs export duties quotas between all companies and SARS, which resulted in all companies stopping utilization of the facility for over border volumes, which is a matter that is envisaged will be sorted according to Transnet around May 2023. Well, it's a matter that they said that would be sorted around 2023, prior to that period. Transnet does expect, however, the resumption in export operations and an increase in the volumes around 600 million liters over the next 3 years. With that said, members, I would like the members to note it is recommended that RSC notes the recommendations in paragraph 14, page 11 of the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gaba. Members, any questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements for the team? If not, I'll take the submission as being clear and request that we move on.
Apologies, Mr. Mkize's hand is up.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ms. Hutton. Mr. Mkize?
Yes, thanks, Chairperson, and thanks to the presenter. Just for record purposes, I think it's important to note that the team has been requested to really engage Transnet with regard to the volumes and what measures need to be taken to improve thereon. It's not necessarily that it's gonna come out as a next action item, next step or an action item, but just for it to be noted that the team is engaging Transnet in terms of the enhancement of the utilization of the facility, including the use of the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you. That's noted, Mr. Mkize.
So I'm just saying that so that the whatever is presented is realistic and also is achievable, smart in other words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mkize. We hope the team will continue with that engagement with Transnet and report back at an appropriate time. On that note, members, may I request that we move on to recommendations on...
Apologies, Chair, Ms. Maseti's hand is also up now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I can't see. As I said, I've connected through an instrument that makes me not see hands. Ms. Maseti, you may come in.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I would like to understand from the team the regulatory adjustments that Transnet indicated that it would like to undertake. And just to be clarified on the outcome of those adjustments, or whether all of the adjustments that were indicated by Transnet, whether they were all those adjustments, and after such adjustments have been made, if all of them were entered, what is the outcome of that? One of the adjustments that I am also just interested in, because they will probably have impact on the other side with the gas side of things, is the calculation of the regulatory decommissioning provision. And if we can be told, how is that now being dealt with by Transnet? And they're also talking about another adjustment, which is the replacement of the main asset, the property, plant, and equipment. So the PPE, which is the main asset on the regulatory asset base. So those are very important changes that Transnet is contemplating, including the environmental cleanup. Can we be just clarified on this? What exactly is happening, and whether these adjustments, all of them were done, and what is the outcome? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Maseti. Mr. Gaba, may you come in?
Thank you, ma'am. In terms of adjustment, ma'am, maybe would you like to elaborate a little some more? But particularly when it comes to the decommissioning costs, it usually lies under the operating expenses, which is what is verified in terms of actual and what they anticipated. And the adjustment there is an inflationary adjustment versus what was forecasted in the application and what was the actual inflation adjustment, just for purposes of the decommissioning expense calculation, ma'am. Maybe I'm missing the gist of the question.
I think the question was that whether those adjustments were executed, and if so, what was the outcome thereof? And I think you've indicated that for decommissioning, you used inflationary adjustment. And I think the question is, the outcome of what was the impact or outcome of thereof, if I understood Ms. Masetti properly. Ms. Masetti, am I correct?
Chairperson, when we deal with these kind of reports on the RRMs and even the audits, they deal with issues of procedure and the format on how we are going to look into these things. So they clarify for transparency purposes. Now, Transnet indicated clearly when it comes to these adjustments that after these adjustments have been made, it will also come up with a sort of, I will say, a revised cost allocation manual. Hence, I am asking about the outcome of these so that we see whether Transnet has now come up with a revised cost allocation manual. So that for us is very important, because if such adjustments have been made, then they will have a profound impact on the cost, especially if the Transnet, you are saying, is not sort of profitable in its situation. So it may want to find some money and then adjust the main assets of the regulated asset base. So that's why I am concerned here on the procedure that it may even come up with that will then lead to the revised cost allocation manual. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Gaba. I hope you've understood the question now. But I see Ms. Boko, his hands is up. Maybe he wants to assist. Should I allow her to come first before you come in, Mr. Gaba? Ms. Boko, please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. On this one, Chair, I think we really have to engage our sister department, GPT, because this communication didn't get to us. I think this is also why Andile is struggling with understanding the question. So let us engage GPT and Transnet if need be, so we are able to also look into this. We didn't get the communication. Thank you.
Apologies, I was muted. Mr. Mkize?
Yeah, I think this must be ahead this and then come back with the response to see what has in following up on what they're undertaking to do, what has finally transpired. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkize. Ms. Masetti, are you fine with that the team should have engagement and come back with a report that addresses the issues that you have raised?
Yes, Chairperson, I am fine with that, but they must take note that this information is in their submission on paragraph 5 of their submission. So it's important that all of those things are looked at carefully when they bring the submission, because we'll ask, especially if the entity is struggling in making profits and all that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Noted. Colleagues, I hope you have noted the requests in terms of addressing the issues raised on the adjustments. On that note, members, can I request that we go to recommendations, which are on paragraph 14 on page 11 of the submission, which is for the committee to note Transnet's audited regulatory financial reports for the period 1 April 2022 to 31 March 2023 for the petroleum storage submitted in compliance with the requirements of the RRM Volume 1. And show of hand, members, with the addition of the request for a submission responding to the issues of the requested adjustment. Thanks, Mr. Mkiza. Do support, Ms. Masetti?
I support, Chairperson. I'm just struggling with my head. Thank you.
Okay, noted. We then move on to the next item. The next item is item 9, and the title of our submission of the item is Evaluation of Astron's Energy Pty Ltd's audited regulatory financial reports for the period 1 January to 31 December 2022, and it is here for noting. Ms. Ntwa?
Sorry, Chair. I just turned the bit.
Of Ms. Mtwa, Ms. Nkosi, may you proceed with the presentation? Please do be mindful that you've got 2 minutes to present the submission. Over to you, Ms. Nkosi.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members and colleagues. The purpose of this submission is to request the REC to know the Astron RFRs for the period of 1 January 2022 to 31st December 2022. On 7th of June 2023, the auditors for Astron submitted audited RFRs for that period of 2022, and it was noted that the Astron submitted the RFR late, and also Astron will be advised to start their process of engagement letter sooner in the letter that's going to be sent to them. On page 5, paragraphs 6.10 to 6.40 provide the analysis and ratios calculation done for Astron. And then on page 9 is the overall of the ratios. It is recommended that the members of the REC notes the RFRs for the period of 1 January to 31st December 2022. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nkosi. Members, any questions, issues of clarity, or points of enhancement for Ms. Nkosi? I do not see any hand from any of the members, and I would therefore request members that we go to the recommendations, which are on paragraph 14 of page 10, and the recommendations are that the REC notes the Astron Energy's regulatory financial reports for the period 1 January 2022 to 31 December 2022 submitted in compliance with volume 1 of the RRM. By show of hand, members, can I get indication that you do support the noting of these RFRs? Thank you, Mr. Mkiza. I do support. Ms. Masetti, you can just indicate verbally because I don't see your hand. Ms. Masetti? I think she indicate that she's struggling with showing up her hand. Ms. Masetti, you support.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay, thank you. We'll then move on to item
I support
10. Thanks, Ms. Masetti. I see your hand now. Thank you. We'll then move on to item 10, which is the Shell Downstream South Africa Pty's audited regulatory financial report for its Alberton, Kronstadt, Mossel Bay, Polokwane, Rockies Drift Depot, and Wheatbank storage facilities for the period 1 January 2022 to the 31st of December 2022, and the submission it is before the committee for noting. May I request Mr. Mahopela to just proceed? And you've got 2 minutes, ma'am, to take us through the submission. Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, members, and good morning, colleagues. The purpose of this submission is to request the REC to note Shell Downstream South Africa RFRs for the period 1st January 2022 to 31st 2022 for its 6 storage facilities. This is the first RFRs that have been submitted for Shell facilities. And based on the analysis on the financial performance and financial position of the SDSA storage facilities reflects that these facilities are profitable and financially sustainable. The profitability ratios for the storage facility show an improvement, and while others are steady, which indicates that it's able to generate profits and gets adequate return on its assets and equity. The liquidity ratios for the facility still meets the general norm, indicating that the SDSA meets its short-term obligations through current assets. And in terms of the efficiencies, data are recovered on time for the storage facilities and assets are utilized efficiently. although still below the standard norm. It is therefore recommended that the REC notes SDSA RFRs for the period 1st January 2022 to 31st December 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Makopola. Members, questions, issues of clarity or points of enhancements on the submission? I do not see any hand. On that note, may I take members to paragraph 14 on page 11 on the recommendations. I think Ms. Makopola has already read the recommendations in the recommendation, which is 1 on and to the record. By show of hand, members, can I get an indication that you support the noting of these RFRs from Shell Downstream South Africa? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Ms. Maseti? If you may still be struggling with your hand, we will then proceed to the next item, which is item 11. Item 11 is on Transnet SOC Limited's audited regulatory financial reports for the period 1 April 2022 to 31st March 2023 for its petroleum pipeline system. Ms. Mtwa or Ms. Sibake, or is it going to Mr. Gaba again, who's assisting in presenting the item? Please, guys.
Yes, Chair, thanks.
Yes, ma'am. I'll come in, ma'am. This is the IFR report for Transnet, but this time it is for the pipelines facility. So it's for the same period, which is the 1st of April 2022 till 31st of March 2023. As said before, also this was based on agreed upon procedures as opposed to the previous ones that were based on a full audit. Just to mention particularly why we went for the agreed upon procedures was mainly to address a number of issues regarding the rehabilitation funds that are held under money market account. There was a decision by members to constantly to actually audit, to put the accounts under audit, as well as and to monitor the allowable revenue to go drill down to a tariff for each supply point rather than for the entire pipeline network. There was a need for us to drill down to each tariff that is approved at a pipeline supply point level, if I may put it that way. Also, it was also to address issues that had arisen from members regarding cross-subsidization, especially when it comes to some of these corporate overhead costs as well, that has been constantly been reiterated in the applications as well. So those are the procedures that were performed by the auditors as well. And the auditors did perform all of the procedures as agreed upon. And there were no major issues that were found in terms of these procedures, as well as the clawback adjustments that are applied for by Transnet in the current application, the 2204-25, were also confirmed via this audit, and all numbers do correlate. In terms of Transnet's profitability, or Transnet Pipelines rather, the pipelines business, it is very profitable. Well, I don't want to be objective when I say very, but it is profitable, and it is able to sustain itself throughout the 2022-23 financial year. And with that said, members, I would like REC to note the recommendation at paragraph 14 of page 10 of the report. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kaba. Members, any questions or issues of clarity on the submission? With
without any hands from members, I do not have any issues from my side. May I request that members, we note the recommendation made under paragraph 14.1 that we, or rather, the action required is that the REC notes the Transnet audited RFRs for a period 1 April 2022 to 31 March 2023 for its petroleum pipeline system submitted in compliance with Volume 1 of the RRM Special. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Do you support Ms. Hutton? I see your hand is up.
Apologies, Chair. We seem to have lost Ms. Manseti. I'm just trying to get her back into the meeting. I don't know if she's got connectivity problems.
Okay, all right. Mr. Mkhize, can we just give Ms. Hutton a minute to check on Ms. Manseti?
I'm good with it. But I've already indicated my support for this one. So I will check.
Okay, I've also indicated mine. I just need to confirm with her if she is supporting the submission as well, because I don't know at what stage did we lose her. Maybe try and dial her in again, Ms. Hutton.
I'm doing that, Chairperson.
If a network is a problem, will it help to call on a landline, sorry, on a normal line, and then I then put her on speaker?
I think that will also help Mr. Mkhize. Call her on her cell phone. I don't know if she's got a landline.
Okay.
Yes. Call her on her cell phone, and then we can continue with her through your phone.
I'm doing that. Chairperson.
Madam Chair, I've got Madam Manseti on the cell phone on this side, and I think she can hear you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Manseti, we were on item 11. The presentation was done, and I hope you heard it. We were on recommendations. I think myself and Mr. Mkhize have indicated that we do support the recommendation. Can we get your indication that you support the noting? Mr. Mkhize, can you hear her?
Yes, she's supporting.
Okay, all right. Thank you. On that note, then we would then move on to the next item on our open session for the meeting, which is the last one, item 12, and the item is on Transnet Pipelines pipe gas transmission for the full year financial report for the period starting 1 April 2022 to the 31st of March 2023. On that note, Mr. Ngumalo, if you can direct us who is going to be presenting the submission for us, or should I go straight to Mr. Ngubeni? Mr. Ngumalo?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Mr. Ngubeni will take us through.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ngubeni. Over to you, Buti. You've got 2 minutes to present the submission. Take it as read. Just give highlights that are important to bring to the attention of the members. Over to you.
Good morning, Chair, and thank you, members. The purpose of this submission is to request REC to note its full financial year regulatory financial reports for the period 1 April 2022 to 31 March 2023. Chair, I'll take the submission as read, and just to highlight then that the RFRs were received on the 10th of October. However, these were late RFRs, as the due date was 31 August. And however, Transnet indicated that the delays were due to delays experienced in obtaining approvals for the submissions of the RFRs. And then, Chair, in terms of the audit itself, Transnet obtained an unqualified audit from Sizwe and Saluba Kobodo, the auditors. However, the auditors had an emphasis of matter relating to the manual adjustment of 636 million due to the balancing of the statement of financial position that is prepared on the gross asset value method, and then the income statement, which is as per the CAM. Chair, the second maybe salient point that I'd like to mention is in terms of the calculation for the clawback. The projections show that there's a potential clawback of 4.5 million that might be applied for by Transnet, and this is as a result of the actual volumes being lower than what was projected in the tariff application, as well as a lower actual REP achieved compared to the tariff application. In terms of the decommissioning cost, you'd see that in table 7 on page 9, that the current of the decommissioning of 2.69 million are sufficient to cover the decommissioning reserves as applied for by Transnet. In terms of the overall analysis of the financial ratios, Chair, the ratios, the Transnet piped gases performance, overall performance has deteriorated in financial year 2022-2023, and the decrease in the financial performance is as a result of the decline in the net profit margin, as well as the decrease in the volumes of gas transported in the financial year 2022-2023. The recommendations, Chair, are on paragraph 14 on page 15. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ngubeni. Members, any questions, issues of clarity in relation to this submission? Yes, Mr. Mkhize.
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson. I think on matters that pertain to common licenses like Transnet between the gas regulation division and the petroleum pipelines regulation division, it's important that we be provided comfort that there is consultation and collaboration between the two, especially if one considers the need for desalination in the regulatory operations. So if that can be indicated, and as well as engagement with RAR in terms of continuous improvement with the RFR's implementation, for me, that is important, just to have the comfort provided to members. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Mkhize. Mr. Ngubeni or Mr. Numalo, can you give members comfort that there has been consultation and collaboration between the two departments, and as well as RAR coming in to assist in areas that are deemed to be critical for this particular licensee? Over to you, Mr. Ngubeni.
Thank you, Chair. And we note the comments from Mr. Mkhize. In terms of the working with RAR, we are engaged in a process currently to try and reevaluate the cost allocation manual of Transnet, and we are hoping to work towards finding some pointers that we can then send a letter to Transnet on how to improve its compliance with our RFRs going forward. And in terms of cooperation with our counterparts within the petroleum division, we do engage with our colleagues, especially on issues of decommissioning. We've been working hand in hand in terms of that aspect, but we will make sure that we try and indicate that in our submissions that we have collaborated with the petroleum team going forward in future submissions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, noted. Thank you. On that note, I don't see any other hand from members. Thanks, Mr. Mkhize. May I then request that we go to recommendations on paragraph 14 of page 15, which is for the REC to note Transnet Pipeline's full year regulatory financial reports for the period 1 April 2022 to 31st March 2023, submitted in compliance with volume 1 of the RRMs. May I, by show of hand, members get an indication that you support the noting of these RFRs?
Supported.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. I do support. Ms. Maseti on her side, is she saying she supports? Thank you. On that note, members, we have come to the end of the open session of our agenda. Let me thank you for your contribution in considering the items that were before us, and also let me thank members of the public who have joined us throughout this open session, and I would like to